The past haunts all of us. We all go to bed at night and think about the things that we should have done, and the things that we shouldn't have done, or the things that we should have done differently. These memories can be powerful motivators. They can convince us to change ourselves for the better, to ensure that we never make these errors again. They show us the path that we must walk in our future to become more than who we were yesterday. Well, at least that's what they should do. There are those regrets that run so real and cut so deep that acknowledging them for self-betterment is impossible. Such acknowledgement requires facing one's past and accepting it. This can be an insurmountable task at times, and ignorance and rejection can be a much easier alternative. Cowboy Bebop shows us this concept through the cast of characters that it introduces us to. The crew of the Bebop are people who are running from who they were, people who have been abandoned and betrayed in the past, and so turn their backs on it with no form of closure to be found. Spike, Faye, Jet, and Edward, are characters who have histories that are uncovered throughout the course of the series. Histories that have been buried by choice or convenience in order to protect our characters from their own selves. Our space cowboys and girls are just drifting through space, bounty to bounty, like ghosts of people. While the life of a bounty hunter undeniably has its thrills, it is fundamentally an existence without long-term meaning or purpose. Especially when it's a lifestyle that's adopted as a means of escaping from their pasts. This makes for a tremendously interesting cast of characters with a lot to examine and dissect. Their relationships with each other and their own selves are incredibly well realised, making for one hell of an anime to sink your teeth into, and that's why I'm going to look at these characters and themes in intricate detail, to understand the crew of the Bebop, understand what drives them, and to uncover the meaning of the meaninglessness that the show presents us with. So Jet takes the role of the captain and the authority figure on the Bebop. He's stern, hard, and overall a pretty straightforward kind of guy. He'll tell it like it is and tends to take on much of the responsibility on board the ship. Ship maintenance, cooking, cleaning, setting the course, finding the jobs. Jet is pretty much the de facto leader of the crew. Which makes sense, the ship belongs to him.
Do I look like I'm joking to you? It's my ship.
He has say on who gets to join and what their roles may be. Well, at least he should. The truth is that Jet tries to be some kind of authority figure over the crew, or a kind of glue that sticks everyone together, but he never really achieves this role. Spike, Faye, and Ed don't ever conform to the standards that Jet sets as rules. He expects them to operate as something similar to partners, but each of the characters' own desires to run somewhat solo is at odds with this mentality. Similarly, his attention to detail over the ship and the bounties is less about his role on the ship and more related to his desire to control the minute details in his own life, and, by extension, the lives of those around him. This is actualized in the way that his old girlfriend Alyssa left him when she felt that she lacked independence because of him. His control and authority over her life pushed her further away from him, to the point where she even shacks up with a criminal, a man who is in many ways the exact opposite of Jet and the type of person that he tried to protect her from.
That's just how you were back then. You decided everything. In the end, you were always right. When I was there with you, I never had to do anything for myself. All I had to do was to hang on to your arm like a child without a care in the world. I wanted to live my own life, make my own decisions, even if they were terrible mistakes.
His desire to enforce a type of order on the world he lives in can only ever really result in chaos. And this further serves to show how control was never really in his hands, only superficially prevalent. His hobby of tending to bonsai trees is a great metaphor for this.
Hey, the world really is a great place.
He tries to achieve some form of serenity in the simplicity of nurturing and tending to his plants. But time and again, it's messed up from elements outside of his control. Spike in trouble, Edward's shenanigans, him making mistakes. These elements of chaos all end up taking away from the order that he seeks through his hobby, an appropriate representation of his life on the Bebop. You see, no matter how many times he states that Spike won't be allowed back on the ship, he always lets him back on. He says he wants Faye gone, yet always goes out of his way to save her at any opportunity. He acts like the crew take him for granted, and they do, yet he still cooks dinner for them like they're his family, despite the harsh criticism that he receives for his lackluster cooking abilities.
Are you listening to me?
There's no beef in here. So you wouldn't really call it bell peppers and beef, now would you?
Yes, I would.
Well, it's not!
In his heart, Jet is not really someone who can just walk away from the people that he cares about. Underneath his more gruff attitude, he clearly cares about everyone on the ship. He arguably cares the most out of everybody on the Bebop.
Better let it be.
Maybe they're just too hungry, you know? It's a known fact that human beings go insane if they don't eat.
That nurturing side that shows up in his bonsai care is present with everyone in the crew. He wants them to function like friends, but their own shortcomings will always end up making that impossible.
I wonder what you'd call this kind of relationship. It's not like we have any camaraderie. There isn't really a bond here at all. Everyone just does what they want to do. They come back whenever they feel like it, and then they take off again. I've been tossed around so much I've just had enough. Yeah, I was better off as a solo act. I miss those days. It'll be all right. Whether they come back or not, it'll be all right.
But he still never walks away. An impossible and fundamentally doomed endeavor that he decides to take on willingly.
What about Faye? We can't just leave her. This is a lawless region. A woman can't make it out there all alone. You know I'm right, Spike.
You're worried about Faye?
His stubbornness and unrelentingness can be seen in his ideals as well. He's the black dog, and when he bites, he doesn't let go.
I'm certain of it.
The black dog who bites once and then never lets go.
This unwavering dedication to justice has resulted in betrayal in his past, which has left him with a nice reminder in the form of his cybernetic arm. This is a physically manifested metaphor that serves as indication that he lost part of himself along the way, which has left a lesser version of himself in the present. And that's the Jet that we see in the series.
Huh?
This is what I paid, yeah, for being too gung-ho and running ahead of the game. You get the point?
While he's on the Bebop as a bounty hunter, we mustn't ever mistake this for a disregard of his morals. It may seem as though he's left his old life behind him, but that's not really the case. While he may try to convince us and himself that the only thing that he cares about is money, and that his care for what's right is something long gone, well, that's just not true. Jet may have tried to ignore his past, he may have tried to run away from his past, but he drifts through the solar system bringing bad guys to heel, without any corruption in his way. This is why Laughing Bull refers to him as Running Rock. He's this bastion of clear morality and honest justice, some kind of immovable object that should never really be toppled. But he is running, he's going against his nature of being stationary, and he's trying to escape that. While he may run away, he's still that rock, and nothing's really ever going to change that. He may try to escape his old life and convince himself that he doesn't care, but when it comes down to the crunch, he will always do what he thinks is right, because that's in his nature, a pillar of what is honestly right. Because his personal view of morality is part of who he is, regardless of whether he wants to accept that truth.
You told him to go after her.
My leg is wrecked. My ship is busted. Hell yes, it was nothing but trouble. And I don't give a damn.
As a bounty hunter, Jet's always looking for some small way to enact some kind of justice on bad people and criminals. I think he's searching for something out there, some kind of indication that he's serving his own personal justice. For the most part, he's tried to turn his back on his old self, but this is never really something easily done. And underneath everything, he can't escape it, and who he is really shows up all the time. Whether it be letting a bounty go because he empathizes with them, or whether it's being too lenient on those that he cares about, and he does deeply care about them, his true nature shows up all the time, regardless of his desire to be someone or something else. You can see this when he gave up the bounty on Chessmaster Hex to get the Astral Gate Company to leave him alone, in Bohemian Rhapsody.
What's your price to keep from leaking this thing to the press?
Just leave the old guy alone. Call off the bounty hunters. That's all we ask.
Being the good guy is in his nature. He can try to go against this nature, but running or not, in the end, he'll always be a rock. Now you'll be hard-pressed to find another woman quite like Faye Valentine. She's carefree and really just goes with the flow of things. There are few things really sacred to this woman as she comes and goes as she pleases. There's this feeling that she isn't really part of the crew, so much as she's just using them as a stopgap between lifestyles. As a character, Faye's not really the type of person to tie herself down to anyone or any place, which is further compounded on by the fair weather attitude that she has towards the crew.
Promise! Let's go! Come on, Jet, now!
Ed keeps yelling something about a promise?
Some promises are made to be broken, in fact. Most of them are. Now come on, lift off!
As well as the fact that she seems to operate independently of Spike and Jet. Often in competition or haggling the crew out of some kind of reward, she's very money-oriented. This is evident in the amount of time that she leaves the crew or tries to hustle money out of them. This is who she is on the surface, that's undeniable, but is this the real Faye Valentine? I don't think so at all.
Think what you like, but it's not a lie.
Her behaviour towards money is inconsistent at best and irresponsible at worst. She may seem money-obsessed, but in reality, Faye has very little consideration for the value of money. Whenever she scores some cash, she blows it on the horses. This is despite the fact that she's dirt poor, and the reward and woolongs are always on the tip of her tongue. Easy come, easy go, right?
You know what they say, Cowboy. Easy come, easy go.
Well, maybe. There's much more than what meets the eye with Faye. She doesn't stay in one place for too long because she simply doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere. After being cryogenically frozen during an accident, she remained in stasis for 54 years, being thawed out in a future that she doesn't recognize and that doesn't recognize her, as well as the fact that she's got no memory of her past life to boot. This moment crafted Faye. In essence, this is the birth of a character, a brand new personality. Even if she could recollect her old life, her home is destroyed due to the Astral Gate accident, which ravaged the Earth. She's awoken in a world that's really moved on from her, a woman outside of her own time. The horrors of her past are made even more clear as Cowboy Bebop eventually shows us that she's accrued hundreds of thousands in debt during her cryogenic sleep just for existing, all of which she now owes. In addition, the first person that she meets after cryo sleep hustle her into even accepting more debt. Now, she makes a point of stating that this isn't really a lot more than what she already owes, but that's not really the point, and it's definitely not the most significant aspect to this moment. The truth is that the betrayal by the first people that she meets in this new future, it radically reconstructs her character into a cynic, and it sets the tone for what she can expect from this new future that she's arrived in.
Survival of the fittest is the law of nature. We deceive or we are deceived. Thus we flourish or perish. Nothing good ever happened to me when I trusted others.
This also helps us understand why she wastes her money on betting. I mean, what's the point in paying off the debt? She isn't going to have a normal life anyway, she's got nowhere else to go to, so it's better to fool herself into thinking that she absolutely needs to be on the run. The most depressing times in Cowboy Bebop come from the slowest of times, drifting bored through space. All the characters need the bounty hunting lifestyle as it offsets the requirement to be alone with their thoughts, Faye included. She's awoken in this unknown world, and these people have set the tone. Hell to escape from only by finding her past. Everyone is out for themselves, and the only way to get ahead is to prey on idiots and hoodwink people out of their money. And this is where the gang meets her, running a card trick as a hustler in a casino. It's clear why she feels like she can't belong anywhere, and this is replicated in her own behaviour. She pushes those around her away because she can't ever really feel like she has a home, because that was taken from her. Not to mention that she's always expecting there to be a catch or a scam or somebody waiting to collect their share. This mentality has crafted Faye into a person who only ever really looks out for herself, and she's always on the ball. I mean, it's no wonder that she dresses like this.
I end up worrying about things I shouldn't. You know, me being such a prize and all that.
No doubt that the added sexualization in her appearance gives her the upper hand in countless circumstances. I mean, she's always looking for an angle. I think this is why Faye is so awkward when it comes to the role of the femme fatale. The sexy bounty hunter routine always falls up short, and she ends up captured, or after the wrong guy.
What do you want, babe? You looking for some action?
Well, you might say that. A certain kind of action.
I'm all yours.
Put your hands up, Decker, my friend.
I think that's because this isn't really her. It's just a facade that she wears to hide who she really is and what she really wants. This makes her less vulnerable, and she's able to shield her real self from the world. Although the moment that Faye is given the opportunity to reclaim her past, she jumps at the chance to belong somewhere.
I finally remember where it is that I belong.
You belong?
Yes, Ed. You have someone waiting for you, too. There's somewhere that you belong, Edward. You should go and find out where. It's the best. Belonging is the very best thing there is.
By acting in a way that's antithetical to her true desires, she's burying what she wants from those around her, and from herself too. And what she wants is somewhere to be, with people she cares for, and people who truly do care for her, people who trust each other. She may seem to be the first one to act selfishly, but she only acts this way and looks out for herself because she's expecting to be abandoned or betrayed, so she might as well be the first one to do it. I think she also wants people to kind of go after her out of their own volition, to show her that they care enough. So it's no wonder that she's so upset when she thinks the crew has left her to go to Earth and speak like a child.
Huh?
Where on Earth? Earth? What? You just took off for Earth and left me behind?
Spike and Jet are trying to find a beta deck.
It's also why she teases people about coming after her when she goes missing on various occasions.
You messed up the Bebop, but left the other ships intact. Swordfish and Hammerhead are fully mobile. Was that like a hint for us to come and find you?
You're joking, right?
Were you just testing us or what?
Why'd you come after me?
I want my money back.
The ship's safe.
Yeah.
It only had 20,000 in it, you know.
Is that right?
Dummy. Look who's here. You must really want me back.
Yeah, nice try.
You were jealous.
Faye doesn't really see it as possible to attain meaningful relationships in the present, only in the past, so when she walks into the ruins of her home, she realizes that the past is dead, and it can't ever come back. She sees that the only thing close to her home is the Bebop. However, even this realization is flawed. By this point, the Bebop is over, and there's no one really for her to return to. Not to mention that the complex web of character motivations and flaws makes the Bebop a pretty volatile place to call home in the first place. In the end, the home that she sought was the one she spent so much time looking down on and running away from. When she realizes what the bebop means to her, that this band of misfits is the closest thing to belonging that she has, it's too late. It's sad as it is ironic. In her gambit to find something genuine and real, and to escape the lonesome existence that she was forced into, she only ended up cheating herself out of time with the people that she was searching for all along. And it was over by the time that she opened her eyes to it.
My memory finally came back. But nothing good came of it. There was no place for me to return to. This was the only place I could go.
Edward's existence on the Bebop is significant in a number of ways, least of all to serve as a catalyst for the finale and a good juxtaposition to the rest of the crew's inability to move on and express. Ed brings the Bebop and the crew to her when she decides that it's time to leave Earth. Ed is by far the weirdest character on the ship, in a lot of ways. She brings a lot of the joy and happiness to the show, a welcome respite from the demeanour that everyone else has on the ship, and she quickly forms a very strong bond with Ein, the data dog. The two of them are kind of like the resident weirdos. While everyone acts like Ed and Ein are nothing really but inconveniences, they are usually the first people that Spike, Jet, or Faye go to when they need something tech-based sorted. In a lot of ways, Ed is actually one of the most useful members of the crew.
Am I done now?
Of course, Edward is simply not like anyone else on the ship, and I don't mean because she has no skeleton. I mean that Edward's attitude to the past and the present are distinctly more healthy than everybody else's on the ship. Similarly to the main cast, Edward has a bit of a history. She was abandoned by her father and left to live as an orphan by a man who doesn't even really remember her name or her gender.
Thanks for taking care of my son. Or was it my daughter?
However, Edward doesn't really dwell on this history, nor does she let it define who she is. She sort of just gets on with things. It's not like it isn't present at all. There are elements to her personality that seem to show a longingness for a father figure and a family of some kind. The way that she interacts with Jet appears as though she views him as some kind of parental guardian, which he also plays into as it helps him feel like he has some kind of familial bond.
The days passed, and before he knew it, the time came to go back. And as a keepsake, he was given the Tamate Bako.
Tamate Bako? Is that scrumptious too?
No, it's not food. It's a big chest with a treasure inside.
I also feel that Edward interacts with Faye and Spike like they're her older siblings, bothering them and prodding at them.
Puff, puff, say Faye! My name's Faye, not Faye. You just say it once, okay?
Faye! Some weird mail came for Bebop Bebop.
Edward's the last to join the crew, and she's also the first to leave. Eventually, she does turn her attention to looking into her own past when she's helping Faye. She's handed an image of her father, who was looking for her at the orphanage that he left her at. Ed then gets on the Bebop to go and look for her dad. That's before he takes off without her, abandoning her again. This clearly causes Ed to think more about her place in the world and her history. When faced with this, she makes the most mature decision in the show. She decides to leave the Bebop and find her own future. She doesn't cling to this place of emotionally damaged adults who can't express their feelings. Instead, Ed takes off and moves on, along with Ein. This is an important factor because in doing so, she essentially abandons the crew, which Spike and Jet don't really take too well.
Oh man, we never screwed up that bad before. What was I thinking? You and I were doing fine. Then they come along and mess up everything. Seems like every bounty's a problem. Pamper me, baby me, nothing but trouble. I understand now why you have this attitude about women and kids.
When Ed leaves in Hard Luck Woman, we're shown two sides of the same coin. Ed and Ein, and Spike and Jet. Both pairs distinctly show off how they deal with the situation. As Ed is leaving, Ein chases her down, because Ein wants to go with Ed rather than staying on the ship, which is a testament to how much the two have grown to care about each other. In the end, these two do end up leaving together, and this is one of the most healthy exchanges between characters in the entire show. Between a kid and a corgi. On the other side of the spectrum are Spike and Jet, who spitefully start eating away their feelings. They recognize that Ed has left, yet make no effort to go out and find her. Food is obviously a major returning motif in Cowboy Bebop. It's something that's used as an objective, a reward, and a way of connecting people together. Food is an important resource to the crew. It's something that's unilaterally beloved by each member. So the fact that Jet has laid out enough eggs for everyone, even going so far as to put some in Ein's dog bowl, just goes to show how much these guys have come to accept Ed into the crew. Therefore, seeing Spike and Jet eating alone is some powerful imagery, especially as they start to dig into the other crew members' shares. This is as if they're trying to convince themselves that they don't care, nor do they need anyone else. It puts into perspective how emotionally stagnant these people are. They can't even discuss the way that they feel about their crew members leaving. Neither can they really admit to themselves that they've come to care about Ed, or Faye for that matter. These are two men who have been abandoned before, and here they are, opening themselves up and being abandoned once more. This scene is riddled in self-hatred and utter detest for what they see to be some form of betrayal, despite the fact that this is what is best for Ed. The change in their lives is painful to endure, and they're left behind again. The fact is, though, that Ed wasn't ever really treated as an equal member of the crew. She wasn't ever offered a share of the bounty, nor was she really that well respected. Frankly, it's for the best that Ed took off when she did, but I can't help but feel a little bit kind of heartbroken at the moment that she does, because that's really the beginning of the end. Where can I even begin with Spike Spiegel? Spike is an extraordinarily complex character. I definitely think his complexities are harder to break down because of how close to the chest the show plays his inner thoughts and his backstory.
Spike, you're avoiding the subject and you know it. What are you trying to hide from me?
So how'd you mess up your arm, huh, Jet?
What does that have to do with it?
Nothing at all.
So when are you gonna answer my question?
When you answer mine.
We aren't made privy to a lot of the inner workings of Spike's mind and story, so we'll have to strip away the layers of the character from how he appears to be in his outward persona and break him down into the internal machinations that do drive him. At face value, it might seem that Spike is someone who kind of lives in the moment. He's on the ball, constantly in the thick of a fight, and doesn't really ever think too much before acting. He clearly lives for the thrill of the hunt. It would appear that he's living his life to the fullest in a lot of ways, but I don't really think that this is the case. The insight that we get into Spike's behaviour during his downtime seemed to indicate a completely different story, a different person. In between bounties, Spike is just really kind of a sad guy. He's lethargic, depressed, careless, and generally just embodies a serious disinterest in everything that's happening around him. This doesn't really seem like the man who is looking to get the most out of life. In fact, I would argue that Spike is driven by the exact opposite. He has practically nothing to live for. He's like this man with nothing to lose, a mostly unfeeling husk of a man who aims to fill up the void inside of himself by high-tension, adrenaline-fueled action. He lives for the big targets and always volunteers himself for the suicide missions.
Wow, is this too hard for you?
Oh no, I wouldn't call it hard. More like impossible. It's like trying to play baseball without a bat. Hey, where you going?
Now this is the kind of stuff I like. Let's do it.
Now, I've seen people say that they think Spike is looking to die, but I can't really help but disagree with this as well. I mean, look at the way he reacts to near-death situations. He is afraid, or at least he's very seriously concerned that he's about to die. So Spike is clearly somewhat uncomfortable with the idea of dying. So I think it's worth reframing this just a little. I don't think that Spike wants to die, he wants to live, but he's not sure precisely what is life and what is just a dream, or if there's any real difference between the two of them. He lives between life and death, a quantum state where he's both alive and dead until he is reaffirmed as one or the other.
I felt like I was watching a dream I'd never wake up from. Before I knew it, the dream was all over.
Spike puts himself at death's door to remind himself that he hasn't crossed the threshold into oblivion. It's a reminder that he is in fact alive because otherwise he would be dead. His existence hinges on him finding near-death situations, or else he has no evidence that he is alive and just living in a dream.
Yeah. Just a dream.
As a result, he was implanted with a cybernetic eye that's only capable of seeing the past. While there is something to be said about the fact that his eye means a literal part of Spike has died in the past, his real eye, it also means that his reality is a blend of what is and what was. This creates an existence where what is real and what is a dream is hard to decipher. Spike is stuck in the past, yes, metaphorically and literally. The focus on his eyes are central to the way that the show demonstrates whether it is trying to make a statement about Spike's past or present. When he's falling from the church, enraptured by flashbacks, the camera keeps cutting to Spike's left eye, as if to say that these are what he sees through the eye that only sees the past. Conversely, when he's sitting and staring down the barrel of Pierre LeFou's gun, his real present life is in jeopardy, signified by the focus on his right eye, which sees the present. It's through this blend of past and present that we are shown clips of Spike's backstory, his old friendship with Vicious, his love with Julia, his fake death and leaving the syndicate. From the end credits and the flashback, we can determine the basics of what happened to Spike, which molded him into who he is in the show. Now, if I were to try and figure out what happened, I would say that Spike did join the syndicate and rose through the ranks with the guidance of its leader. He grew in this role, befriended a man called Vicious. The two of them became partners and friends, and then Julia came along. The two men fell for her, and this eventually drove a wedge in between them. Eventually, Spike sees a future away from the syndicate because he's scared that he might die.
When I was younger, I wasn't afraid of anything. I didn't have the slightest fear of dying, no reason for it. I thought that if I die, that's fine with me any time at all. But then I met a certain woman and it changed. I started to think that I wanted to survive. For the first time, the idea of death began to scare me. It was on my mind. I never felt that kind of feeling. Almost paralyzed.
And? Where is she now?
She faded off somewhere.
Or that she may die. A first for him. So after a near-death experience, he proposes to run away together, and she agrees. To do this, Spike fakes his death using a bouquet of flowers to hide his gun. He waits for her in the graveyard, however Vicious finds out what they're planning to do, and so she elects to never meet him because she would have to kill him, and goes on the run herself. Spike, feeling betrayed and abandoned by the woman that he loves, leaves the syndicate, and with nowhere to go, he ends up with Jet on the Bebop. Now, this could be right, however, it could just be how I imagined it. Cowboy Bebop never really goes out of its way to make Spike's backstory something that you can just obviously break down. And this is by intention. We aren't really supposed to know everything, nor does it want us to know. Of course, what else is needed? The show's thesis statement is not one that encourages dwelling on one's history. If the show went out of its way to spell out Spike's backstory, the integrity of its own messaging would be undermined. This message is one that promotes dealing with the past, accepting it, and learning to move on with life. Dwelling or running from it will only result in it controlling you and eventually coming back with a vengeance. The visions and thoughts of the past are Spike's business to deal with, not ours, so we aren't made privy to all of his thoughts. All that we know for certain is that this experience changed him. He clearly used to be a different man. Look at how he reacts to Julia versus Faye after his fight with Vicious. Where he once would have embraced the person who cared for him, now he completely rejects Faye despite her display of affection by caring for him.
You sing off key.
He sees the potential for Faye to be someone that he cares for, like Julia, which is shown in the way that he blends his past and present of Julia and Faye together in this scene. These scenes are practically the same, but his reaction is not. He is the element in these scenes that is different. He's not open to, nor interested in, letting Faye get too close, so he pushes her away by insulting her singing voice. This is a demonstration of the fact that he's not really the same man that he was. His past has clearly had a serious impact on his mindset, whether he admits it or not. He's closed off now, and not ready to open up to another person. By letting his past dominate his present, he can have no future. He will remain a man stuck in between past and present, life and death. Then, and now, an aimless wanderer.
Since then, I've been seeing the past in one eye and the present in the other. So I thought I could only see patches of reality, never the whole picture.
Much of Spike's personality and attitude is driven by these elements of his personal history. The cynical perception of women and life is something that was crafted by his relationship with Julia and the disappointment that it bore. The way in which Julia is presented in the show is as if she's larger than life, some unimaginable beauty who captured the heart of a heartless man. But when she shows up, she's just a person. She isn't really dripping with charisma, nor is Spike particularly thrilled to see her. And I think this is part of the reason that I don't even really think Spike loves Julia by the end of all this. The way that he goes with her and reacts to her when he sees her, it's mostly just apathy in his eyes. He goes with her because that's what he wants, right? Well, you see, the thing is, I don't think he even knows what he wants anymore. Being with Julia now is just too late. The future that Spike saw with her is a future that he doesn't really seem to want anymore.
You won't need all those weapons if we run away together, you know that. You're staying.
Julia is in Spike's past. This is further symbolized by the way that the camera zooms in on Spike's left eye when they first meet again. This is his fake eye, the one that sees the past. And when he looks at her, what he sees is his past, which is also replicated in the general aesthetic that's in these scenes. It's all washed out. It almost looks like one of Spike's flashbacks. Ultimately, her death is evidence that he can never just go back. Going back can only ever really end in tears, and it's what the show's trying to push our characters away from. This is why the idea of Julia is more incredible than the reality of her. Inside of her, in his memory of her, Spike wrapped up all of his dreams and aspirations, all of his possible tomorrows, from a time when he dared to believe in something like the future. Accepting this hurts, so why bother? When the alternative of running away from it is so much more carefree, or at least seems to be.
I'm still in the dark. I may never know anything about my past.
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Easy for you to say. At least you have a past.
And you have a future. That's what counts.
The truth is that he carries that weight whether he wants to or not. His eye reminds him of what happened in his deepest, darkest moments. The only way to put it to bed is to deal with it. or else it will dominate him and come back with a vengeance. And it does. The fact is that Spike's ignorance to his past is what allowed Vicious to proliferate his power to the point where he could no longer ignore it. Julia, his mother figure, his life aboard the Bebop, it was all destroyed by the fact that he didn't deal with his past when it was small. Like, it's better late than never, but it did cost him his life in the end.
What are you going to do? Just throw your life away like it was nothing?
I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive. I have to do it, Faye.
People think about Spike's final moments on the show as though he decided that without Julia there's no reason to live, so he goes on a final suicide mission. Which again I disagree with. I think that in Julia's death, Spike realizes that his time on the Bebop was worth more to him than he had realized. And this is because now he knows that it's real, because he was never dreaming. Before going to face Vicious, Spike goes back to the Bebop and acts quite out of character. He shares a laugh with Jet, giving some semblance of a reaffirmation of their friendship. He opens up part of himself to Faye, one of the sole moments of real connection between the two of them. This moment is intimate, and probably one of the only raw moments of honesty that Faye receives in this new future of hers. I feel like Spike's return to the ship before he leaves is more than just a goodbye. In a way, it feels like an apology, as if he now realizes that he should have been a great friend and an honest person, and not squandered his time with them. This scene is Spike giving them a snippet of what they were looking for in him, which makes his suicide mission all the more tragic. He goes to face Vicious because he is finally awake. He is alive and he's saving the crew that he finally knows he does in fact care for, and this is his final action. He had what he wanted the whole time, it was just in front of him, like it was with Faye. Laughing Bull refers to Spike as Swimming Bird, which is an apt description of Spike's character and circumstances. He's a person made to fly, to be free and on the air, but instead he's stuck in the water. It's a life that was not made for him, but he's inhabiting it regardless, against his nature. Similarly to Jet, Spike is a man who is acting in opposition to his nature and failing. He's a beast that's lost its fangs. The truth is that Spike can play a bounty hunting. He can try to live a life that's not meant for him, but at his core he will still be a bird. Spike needs to accept who he is and live a life that is free and unburdened in order to thrive. However, this requires him to accept and deal with his past. If he's carrying the weight of the burden of his past, he will never be light enough to fly. He will remain a swimming bird. And the reality is that Julia's death was never the final straw for Spike. It wasn't something that broke him and caused him to just accept death. It was the final shackle, holding him back from moving on. With her death, it lets Spike let go of his dream of Julia. This act is one that sets him free. And this act is him choosing life. Julia's death shatters the illusion, the distinction between past and present, forcing him to contend with the now, as there's nothing left to go back to in the past.
Is it for the girl?
She's dead. There's nothing I can do for her now.
Just like how Jet, Faye, and Ed have to move on once they've realized that the past is no longer something that is reclaimable. If he doesn't leave to face Vicious in this moment, he's not saving himself. He'll always live as oil on water, a ghost of a person. By going to fight Vicious, even if he dies doing it, he will at least be freed from the dream. He'll be freed from being bound to his past. There's a reason that the final battle takes Spike's left eye. This eye is the one that sees the past. Him losing it in his last fight is significant and important, as it represents the fact that now he only sees through his right eye. He only sees the present. He's awoken from the dreams of the past and is finally now seeing the now. This is evidence that Spike has been alive for the entire time of the show. It's not just been a dream. All of the experience that we've seen in this series have meant something real because he would have truly been alive the entire time. At the end of the day, Spike may die, but he dies to live.
Bang.
Cowboy Bebop is a show about endings and beginnings. The end of one era is the beginning of the next. By ignoring this mindset and becoming trapped in the past, you can never really start something new. The past is beautiful. It can store our innermost wants and encapsulate moments in our minds, immortalized in our very souls. But there are limits. Spike, Jet, and Faye are weary tales, stories of people who try to escape what is intrinsically held within them. When this is how you treat the past, it stops being the former and it becomes a cancer, eating away at you from the inside, until you're left alone, hollow, and unable to be more. By being obsessed with their pasts, our characters missed out on their present. Their fixation on where they have been and where they belonged, as well as who they belonged with, caused them to ignore what was in front of them the whole time. When you neglect your present, you give more weight to the past. As things pass you by, you learn to regret them as well, empowering the hold that these regrets have. Only by turning to face their pasts were Spike, Jet, and Faye able to understand what it means to stop watching and waiting and to act. It's just a shame that it took so much of them to figure it out. But at least we can learn to be better than them, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, no matter how far you try to run from your history, the fact is, you're going to carry that weight.